Alright, so, album covers. They're a very important piece of marketing within the music world. It's essentially the cover of the book. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but let's say you're back in 2003 and you're actually in a library. If you're going in open-minded, you're not going to pick the book with the most disgusting cover you've ever seen. An album cover can quite literally attract or deter listeners from checking out the album. I'm not joking when I say I found my favorite album ever explicitly from finding the cover intriguing. I saw Fantano's review of Blonde in my YouTube recommended, and I was like, hey, that's a cool cover. Now I got a darn poster of it on my wall. My point is, in today's world, marketing and advertising is more important than ever. Standing out, stealing eyes, making that good initial impression. It's the album cover's job to attract as many listeners as possible. But today I'm giving my list of the top 10 album covers that are so bad, I want to cry. These album covers just pain my heart and soul, but most importantly, my eyes. Some of these covers are so bad I genuinely abstained from listening to the album at first because the cover was just like a scarecrow keeping me at a distance. There's not really any rules for this video. Some artists tragically have more than one entry on this thing. There's no genre limits. Anyone and everyone can get the smoke. I'm excited to get into this one, let it a little bit of steam. I'm very passionate about my disapproval towards some of these covers, although want to throw in a quick disclaimer. It's my opinion. There's definitely worse album covers out there. These are just the ones that bug me. Also, I know some album covers have like a deep backstory or a reference. If that's the case with one of these covers and I don't know, I don't mean to disrespect it. Just from a visual standpoint, the cover itself, I don't like it. So, without further ado, coming in at number 10, we got Franchise by Travis Scott. Now, this song actually got a remix and a new cover, but I genuinely can't tell which is worse. The original is more visually displeasing. It looks like Picasso trying to paint Mickey Mouse while on a roller coaster, but the remix cover is, like, creepy. It made me realize there's more than one face on this thing. There's just random eyes and cheekbones, and I don't even know. If anything, it's low-key fitting because the song itself is very messy and extravagant, but the difference is the song is still good. These two album covers, though, they are not. Coming in at number 9, we got Cuttin Volume 1 and 2. This is another instance where the cover has a second chance to fix itself and doesn't. The first one is just bad. Why yellow and green? That is not a good color combination in any scenario. I can't think of a situation where bright yellow and grass green goes good together. Also, don't ask why, but every time I see this cover, I always think it's like The Rock on a lawnmower. I don't know why, but that's just another thing wrong with this cover for me. Also, what's going on with the font? Why are there 3 different fonts that have nothing to do with anything? But then Cuttin 2 came out, and it's arguably worse. Why is it at nighttime? Why is there a moon? Who is cutting their grass with a riding lawnmower in the middle of the night? Dog, what are you doing? And the color combination still sucks. Granted, it's better than yellow and green, but it's still just a no. I've seen a cover that's white and blue. I don't know if that's some limited thing for vinyls, but see how much better that looks? Oh my gosh. Number 8 is Lens by Frank Ocean. Just something about the sloppiness just isn't right. If I'm being honest, I'm somebody that often prefers more artsy covers as opposed to photos and images. But this one just looks like an art project from grade 2 where everyone has to do the same thing, but there's one kid that just misses the memo and ends up with something that looks addicted to something. Like, why is this man missing a tooth? I guess it's kind of cool how the letters somewhat make up the contours of a face. The S is the ear. I think the L is the nose, which in that case, dang, that is a tall nose. The E is the eye. But if that's all true, what's the N? Like, is this some Walmart Harry Potter scar? Nah, man, I've seen some things like the cover was based on another historic painting or something, so like I said in the intro, if there's any meaning behind that, like, fair enough, I respect the meaning, but from an artistic standpoint, me looking at this thing, it's just weird. Flying in at number 7, we got Tightrope by Brooks and Dunn. Want to talk about a bad color combination? Try deep violet blue and rust. It just blends like oil and water. Furthermore, why do they have some opacity gradient on their bodies? Why can I see through them? There's not even anything to see behind them. I've seen some album covers where like they have patterns and landscapes fill in the shape of their body or face, but this is just an empty desert. There's literally nothing. Why? Why? Number 6, Tell Me How by Tyler the Creator. I know Tyler's whole aesthetic is very like cut and paste, alternative, artsy thing, but come on, man, who drew this? Because if they were over the age of 5, could I politely recommend they switch professions? They couldn't even be bothered to stay in the lines. That's like rule 1 of childhood art. But there's so much wrong with this cover. Why is his hair shaped like a fidget spinner? Why does the can have a tongue? What do these hideous stars actually add to the cover? Like when I'm taking notes in history class and the teacher's talking faster than Ben Shapiro, I still manage to make better stars than that beside important points. How little time did you have for this? Why does he only have 2 teeth? Why are his eyes looking like that? Why isn't he drinking the Coke? Because as we can see, he's missing his face. Lastly, why is the can called the Funk? And why does it say, how that tastes probably good? What? Number 5. Now we're getting to like the offensively bad ones. Album covers that are so bad they low-key feel like a personal attack. And to begin our venture into the worst of the worst, allow me to remind you of the White Album by the Beatles. People thought Chris Stapleton's album cover was bad. At least he could be bothered to make sure it's straight. Why isn't it straight? Or centered? Or in any logical place? It's just floating in thin air. Why? Was that a printing error that they just rolled with? This one just feels like an insult to anyone with OCD. I don't even have OCD, and my blood boils just looking at it. Imagine if I had OCD. I wouldn't exist. My body would phase into a state of nothingness. Number 4 is Icarus. That's definitely not how you say it. Icarus. Something Falls by Zayn. This is one of the prime examples of an album cover that genuinely deterred me from listening for several months. Now you might look at it and think, Overshore, what's the hate about this album cover? And the truth is, I don't know. It just bugs me. It's almost too realistic of an animation. It just seems like something a 2017 Fortnite streamer would have as the background wallpaper to their multi-million-dollar glowing custom Fortnite computer thing. I don't know, man. It just bugs me. Podium time! Bronze medal, Mr. Sandman. Now, this is an old one. It's just a song my friends and I have in our big playlist for memes. I don't even know what this is. Obviously, digital design would not have been advanced back in the day, but come on. What is this? At this point, just don't have an album cover. This looks like my first attempt at Adobe Illustrator. Just shapes. And then it just says Chordettes, despite them officially being the Chordettes. Mr. Sandman isn't capitalized at all, which, you know what? This was made long before the internet erased the need for grammar and punctuation, so I'm going to call them out on not capitalizing their pronouns and forgetting the period after Mr. This is stuff my elementary teachers brutalized me for, so I will not let this cover from 1954 escape unscathed. Silver medal, and it's a re-entry from an artist who has already been featured on this list. It's Revolver by the Beatles. What is that monstrosity? It's like the designer couldn't decide if he wanted pictures taken at awkward times or horrendous blends of scratchy and realistic drawings. So he's like, just throw them all in. What is the purpose of all these images? Why is my boy's nostrils so defined? Why are his lips and eyes so real, but the rest of his face and hair looks like a wet mop? Why is his ear so realistic? Why is Flat Stanley chilling in the mix? Why is Bryce Hall in the top left corner? This looks like my Snapchat stickers of my friends, not a Beatles album cover. Lastly, why is his nose so straight? Alrighty, now before we hop into the worst album cover of all time, in my humble opinion, I want to shed light or darkness on some honorable mentions. First up is the Heart and Soul collection from Eric Church. Now, these album covers are honestly pretty fire. There's just 2 things I cannot unsee. Firstly, why is there just a straight line chilling at the bottom? Bro, I've never seen a cloud so straight in my life. Secondly, why do they not connect? Dude is literally looking at himself. You can't say these covers weren't meant to be put side by side in order. They should link up. Come on, man. Elton John's self-titled deluxe edition. There's gotta be a better way to put the deluxe edition thing rather than just slapping it across his face like a closing sign on a store, which, trust me, I know what those look like. Damn Country Music by Tim McGraw. There is no reason for this room thing to be in the middle of a farm field. It just looks like a terrible Photoshop job in a magazine about eating healthy. The deluxe thankfully fixed it. They just zoomed in and got rid of the landscape behind him, but man, that original's a little weird. Lastly, pretty much any Trippie Redd album cover. Not only are all of his albums pretty trash, but dude just can't be bothered to give them a half-decent cover either. I mean, come on. They either look like a Haunted I Spy page or a Lil Uzi ripoff. Why is a shark there? But the worst album cover of all time, in my opinion, not necessarily the objective worst, but as the title says, the one that makes me want to cry. It just bugs me. It doesn't sit well. Continuum! By John Mayer. Now, I know all the Swifties are just having the time of their life, like, oh, Yes, this is awesome, Overshore. Keep bashing John Mayer. Lucifer himself. You know what? I'm going to take this motivation to go comment more death threats on his TikToks. And before you do that, the album itself is remarkable. It's The Runaway is the best John Mayer album. It's like musicianship at its finest. Dare I say I'm taking Continuum over any Taylor record, but back to the point of the video. The cover sucks! I mean, what kind of colorblind, or just blind in general fool, designed this? First of all, it just looks boring. It looks like the cover to a mathematical theory book my brother would read. But gray on gray? Really? You're gonna put gray font on a plain gray background? But that's not even the worst part color-wise. The turquoise just blends into a blur. Like, unless you're 2 inches away from this thing, you can't read that. It just fuzzes out. Maybe I'm the one with visual problems, but I don't think I am. I think whoever designed this just doesn't understand how to see things. Seriously though, who let this fly? Like, surely they didn't complete everything and then have one random guy add the album cover with no discussion. Like, a lot of people, including John himself, would have had to approve of this, sign off on it. Like, did nobody look at it and say, wait, I can't even friggin' read what it says? I mean, at least it stands out from the crowd. When I see a gray square with a turquoise fuzz, I know what album it is. But that's like saying at least Milan Lucic stands out on the ice. Like, obviously he does. He's like a 250-pound hunchback in Notre Dame still learning how to skate. Also, why does it say music by John Mayer? Just say John Mayer. Like, nobody walked into a music store in 2006, saw the new record from John Mayer thinking it was a feature film or something, but then read the title and was like, oh, it's music. Good thing they specified it's music by John Mayer. I totally would have bought this by accident thinking I was getting an action movie starring John Mayer. Like, imagine if in the title of every video, I just put YouTube video by Overshore, just to make sure nobody goes on YouTube and clicks on my video thinking it's a shortcut to open up a Firefox browser tab. Like, obviously it's music. Alright, that's enough ranting for me. I felt good to let that steam out though. Obviously, this list is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of covers that are definitely worse than the ones I showed, but these ones are the ones I'm familiar with that just bug me on a deeper level. Specifically like the Zayn cover. Some people probably look at that and think it's cool, but for whatever reason, it just bugs me. This video, like I said, subjective for comedic purposes. These aren't chiseled in stone as the worst. Bad album covers are always coming out. Maybe I'll have to do an updated version of this a while down the line. I gotta stop rambling. Links to the podcast, Instagram, and Discord in the description. You guys already know that. If you're new and like what you see, clicking that subscribe button would mean the world, as well as liking and sharing this video to anyone who may enjoy. And until next time, have a great day.